Next speaker, Dr. Vinod Kumar, will take us through the paths that leads to possible solutions for this. Dr. Vinod Kumar is former professor of medicine from AIIMS and President Emeritus of ARDSI, Delhi chapter. Additionally, the Government of India has conferred the Lifetime Achievement Award in the field of aging on him. Dr. Vinod Kumar will speak on how to live well in old age. Dr. Vinod Kumar.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me all?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I am delighted to share some thoughts about the numerous barriers to wellness and health in old age, and also try to impress upon all of us that many senior citizens are able to adapt to certain attitudes in their daily aspects of life in order to tide over these barriers and achieve a health and well-being in all these matters. While we, all the senior citizens, must celebrate our each birthday by undergoing a complete health checkup, and we already realize that in old age, we are vulnerable to a large number of visible suffering of our body in the form of various diseases, disabilities, including dementia and many other diseases, and a host of other medical symptoms due to old age itself, due to the process of normal aging. On the other hand, we also must realize that there are a multitude of mind-related problems which are often invisible and are usually not complained about. We are aware of the fact that a very large number of senior citizens are highly positive individuals and are able to cope up with many challenges of life quite successfully. But while I do not want to paint a very gloomy picture about the psychosocial aspects of old age, I would like to give certain examples where our elderly are really suffering. For example, loneliness and feeling of becoming irrelevant is a serious source of anxiety in some senior citizens. There are many senior citizens who are unable to cope with challenges of life like bereavements and other challenges. There are senior citizens who find themselves amidst despair, emotional problems, and sometimes even hopelessness. There are also senior citizens who sometimes have fears about their physical safety. They have financial worries. They may have investment worries, and many of them are having generational disconnect. And if the circumstances are really not favorable to them, some of them may become diffident, even cynical, and also it may have different problems from the point of view of mind. So how to tackle all these barriers which relate to both the body and the mind? I am of the opinion that senior citizens are capable of undergoing certain or bringing about certain attitudinal changes through which they can win over these barriers and aspire for a good well-being and old age health in their life. They may have attitudinal changes in physical aspect, in the mental, social, spiritual, and financial aspect. So let us first come about physical aspect, because we are most caring about our physical body. Under the physical aspect, I would briefly mention about 4 points. One is the oral hygiene, second is the diet, then the exercise, and finally the sleep. Now, we are told these days and advised quite rightly that we should not touch our mouth and nose and eyes with our hands. And I think this is quite true. We all remember our old Hindi adage, naak mein ungli, kaan mein tinka, matkar, 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 aankh mein anjan, daant mein manjan, nitkar, nitkar, nitkar. This has simply become more relevant in the COVID times. I would like to mention that a good oral hygiene not only protects against diseases and infections of gums and teeth, but also against pneumonia, heart disease, and uncontrolled diabetes. So it may be a good idea, and it should be a good idea, that in addition to our habit of twice teeth brushing, we should also regularly do dental flossing and gargling of our mouth and throat. About the exercise, I think those who do not find time to exercise would soon find time to illness. It is now proved that prolonged hours of sitting and lying on the bed shortens the life. There are many types of exercises, indoor and outdoor. I would not like to go into them for lack of time, but a 30-minute walk daily at a speed is useful, provided it does not increase your pulse rate beyond 120 per minute if you are aged 50 to 60 years, or beyond 110 per minute if you are aged 60 to 70 years, and beyond 95 if you are aged 70 plus. The other point I would like to stress upon, that you may walk anytime, but it is the morning walk which is more useful than the evening walk, because in the morning when you get up you are fresh, you walk sort of with whole body, while in the evening you walk only with tired legs. So that is about the exercise. For those who are having problems of sleep, they are not able to fall asleep in the night and spend hours of sleeplessness, there is a good idea about having some extra oxygen through breathing exercises. I think while doing breathing exercises, they should first try to concentrate on some object to divert their attention from unwanted negative thoughts which are crisscrossing their mind. And after that, they could take a 2 seconds deep inhalation followed by about 4 second prolonged exhalation with or without making a gentle humming sound. And you will discover that after some time of these breathing exercises, you start yawning and may go off and fall asleep without even your knowing. So once we have done with these 4 points about physical aspect, I would move on to the mental health attitudes. You know, our brain and mind, both are the precious gifts of nature. Brain because of memory and judgment, and mind because of its relation to our thoughts and feeling. We have to remain active both from the point of view of mind and brain. Brain can remain activated if you challenge it. If you don't use it, you will lose it. There are various ways of challenging the brain: reading new material, learning new languages, solving puzzles, working on internet, or learning some musical instruments, playing chess, working on left hand sometimes. They are all helpful. And if you are allowed to go outdoor, you can also do gardening and planning gardening, which also improves your cognition and memory. A word about internet usage. Internet using and exploring the internet and surfing on it is like trading on uncharted water, and therefore it is quite useful for stimulating your cognition and memory. However, one should avoid internet addiction, because if you sit all the time on internet, you will have the opposite effect. You will be depending more and more on computer's memory, and your actual memory will be reduced. And moreover, if you are sitting on the computer for long hours, you will become sedentary, which is something else that we don't want. So with regard to the mind, very briefly, I would say that mind is a seat of a variety of positive and negative social, spiritual, and financial thoughts and feelings. And we have to somehow keep this mind active in a positive way. Well, spiritual practices to control our mind are a good idea, and I will mention about them a little while later. But I think listening to music and doing physical exercise also boosts our mind. All these things are acting through scientific evidence, through hormones like reducing cortisol hormone, the stress hormone, or by increasing sleep hormone like the melatonin hormone. Now our next stop will be social wellness. You all know that man has been a social animal for time immemorial. He has been making friendships and relationships of all kinds to his advantage. Scientists today also believe that social isolation can be combated by social enrichment. And social enrichment not only combats social isolation, it also is useful for diseases, many diseases, and therefore it prevents and controls many of these non-communicable diseases, including dementia. It is a paradox that in the COVID time, we are exposed to the risk of social isolation for dementia patients. I think social connectedness is important at every moment of person's life. And as I speak to you, I'm quite desirous of connecting with you also. If the members of this august audience think that this is an old man in a colored shirt giving lectures to us or sermonizing, it's okay with me. It simply means to me that you and me have connected well. There are many ways of socializing: talking on telephone, gossiping, or storytelling, humoring, going to pilgrimages, partying, attending social and religious functions, volunteering, or working for a cause are all methods of social interaction. And we are already doing many of them even in COVID times through the digital means, and we are still maintaining the physical distance. For the working for a cause or volunteering, I would like to point out that if you are doing it as a passion, with perfection and with prudence, it will be even giving more satisfaction. If your passion is strong enough, you will find that after some time, you and others may not even be knowing that you are working or playing, deriving an extra piece of happiness. A word of caution about the digital social interaction. I'm not aware whether all these social interactions that we are richly doing through the digital means is actually a true replacement of human face-to-face interaction. Scientists are divided on this, but we have no choice at this time. But I can recollect an old saying: I fear the day when technology will surpass the human interaction. The world may have generation of idiots. This old proverb was said by someone else, but was falsely attributed to the great Albert Einstein. Now, very briefly about the spiritual approaches to wellness and health. I think very highly acclaimed scientists have told us that successful aging is all about attitudes to the extent of 80%. It's only 20% which is everything else. It is quite well known that senior citizens are having difficulty in coping with life's challenges, and they often take recourse to spiritual path. I think the value of a spiritual path is such that even a very old, infirm, and bedridden senior citizen who is in no position to harness the benefit of physical, social, and financial benefits, he is still in a position to find spiritual solace even in the face of grappling with thought of death and dying. I think spiritual traits are a part of everyone's persona. Are we not in the COVID times becoming more spiritual? Are we not wishing everyone safety, wellness, and health all the time, ever more than ever before? Are we not responding more frequently to calls of charity and donation? We are also seem to be worshipping, praying. We are also empathizing, forgiving, introspecting ourselves, and as Manjari told, we are also trying to find the personal meaning of life more frequently these days. These are the very attitudes, the spiritual attitudes, which are also contained in the yama and niyama way of yoga life. And these have been scientifically proved to have very useful physical and mental health benefits. Therefore, there is a point in having these attitudes in our daily life. Already many senior citizens are working daily to enhance these attitudes by a variety of methods, like venerating to the Supreme, like hearing to the religious discourses, listening to devotional music, adopting vegetarianism, doing intermittent fasting, yoga asanas, and above all, by pranayama and meditation. Pranayama is an act of breath. Meditation is an act of mind. Both are very extensively discussed these days because they fight anxiety, stress, diseases, and even boost our immunity. So it's a good idea to take some time out of your busy schedule and do these exercises for some time daily. Now, very lastly and very briefly, I come to the financial attitudes and how we can change them. I'm not here talking about economically weaker senior citizens, many of whom have to depend on their family for support or on the welfare schemes. And by doing so, quite many of them are doing well. But my main concern is about the worries, the financial worries about the affluent. The affluents have also different kinds of financial worries. For example,
Sir, couple of more minutes.
their movable and immovable assets, which they have accumulated or rather hoarded unnecessarily during their lifetime, is a matter of worry. They have to decide in the old age what to do with them. Particularly, the decision becomes tougher if they have no legal heirs. And the decision becomes rather urgent if the decline of their body and mind is in a faster pace. So, for those who have legal heirs, they are also aware that even writing a will may be challenged after they are gone, and it may take years to settle the score. So I think the elderly people must seek a good help from financial and legal experts to write a well-worded will. For those who do not have legal heirs, I have some strange ideas. I would suggest by the age of 70 or 75, you shift your market risk-prone movable assets to more secure government securities. By the age of 80, you should sell off all your disposables and collectibles and artifacts. And by the age of 85, sell off your house and go to the assisted living. And when you are 90, reduce your personal belongings to the bare minimum, and so on, and remain free of anxiety. However, if there is a desire on the part of any of such senior citizens to bequeath anything to the person whom they like, their decision should be respected. To conclude, ladies and gentlemen, I have tried to highlight that attitudinal changes to bring about wellness and health in old age is not simply a medical matter, but it entails a variety of other aspects of our life. I would also like to say that this is a work of a lifetime, but it is never too late to begin. Earlier begun, better it is. Every senior citizen who is watching my presentation or maybe watching it later on has a valuable story to tell about their experiences of coping with challenges of life and how they have coped with great success or lesser success and derived happiness. So your comments and suggestions will be most useful for me, and I firmly believe that knowledge shared by a speaker must be supplemented by the audience to become knowledge squared. Thank you for listening. Thank you for attention.